It was Margie who suggested we go camping for a team building exercise. I would have told her it was a terrible idea, but unfortunately, she suggested it during one of her meetings with Carlen at Starbucks, so nobody was actually there to veto her. Not that it would have mattered. We only actually found out about this mandatory team outing the Thursday before, so at least I had roughly 24 hours notice before my weekend plans got torpedoed. It's so important to us that the team gets some time to unwind, to de-stress and let off some steam in a healthy way, Carlen had explained. I wanted to tell her that I actually had a really healthy way to unwind, de-stress, and let off some steam, and it was called not spending the weekend with my fucking coworkers. But unfortunately, we worked in a daycare. There were toddlers present, and I could not tell them to fuck off without informing said toddlers that the word fuck exists and could be used in the classroom setting. So I kept my mouth shut and told myself I'd think of an excuse to get out of it. Unfortunately, this did not work, and when I texted Margie to let her know that I couldn't make it that weekend, she texted back with, "You can't just drop out at the last minute, Clara. We already made the preparations, and I've already had a chat with you about your negative attitude. This really isn't acceptable." Then she started going on and on about my attitude, while I mentally checked out and resigned myself to my shitty weekend. Then, to put a horrible cherry on top of this bullshit experience, Carlen called me into her office on Friday morning to complain about me not being a team player or some bullshit like that. To be honest, her complaints just went in one ear and out the other. I half expected her to write me up again, but she didn't. She threatened to, but she didn't. I don't suppose it would have mattered if she had. Write-ups from Carlen don't mean jack shit. I've been working at Kids Kingdom for 4 years now, and I've been putting up with Margie and Carlen for 3 of them. Honestly, I didn't even really hate them at first. Carlen was a little scatterbrained and insecure, while Margie could be a bit overbearing. But they both seemed decent enough at first. And when Carlen took over as the director of the center, I actually thought she might be a bit of an improvement over her predecessor, Liz. Liz had been a bit of a hard ass, and could be, well, for lack of a better term, kind of a bitch. I'd seen her make a few of the newer girls start crying. Working for her could be tedious at times, but to her credit, she was still organized, focused, and a lot of her worst traits came from that. She was a bitch, but she was a bitch who got shit done. The same could not be said of Carlen. To her credit, she did start off fairly promising. She listened. She showed she gave a shit. She put in the effort to make coming into work every day a pleasant experience. The staff liked her, the kids liked her, the parents liked her, I liked her. And then that became the problem. People liked her, so people got chummy with her. Some of the other members of the staff started cozying up to her, trying to be her best friend, and so she started giving them special treatment. Like when Tanya accidentally miscounted the number of kids she had outside with her, and left one of them outside in the play yard for 7 goddamn minutes in the middle of February. Carlen should have ripped her a new asshole for that. Instead, she just swept it under the rug, because Tanya was one of the ones she went out for drinks with after work. When I caught Margie slacking on diaper changes, Carlen should have eviscerated her. Instead, she just said, "Well, Clara, mistakes happen." It wasn't until the parent complained about the diaper rash they found on their child that Carlen even bothered to do anything. She should have fired Margie for what she did. Instead, she just had a chat with her and called it a day. No write-up, no disciplinary action, nothing. Why? Because Margie was her best friend, and there was no way she was going to turn on her. Despite Carlen being the director, Margie more or less ran the show. She and Carlen had always been friendly, but as soon as she got her promotion, Margie was on her like a leech. I don't think Carlen ever had someone cozy up to her like that before. I think that she heard Margie suggest they go out for dinner, drinks, and hang out on weekends, and thought, oh wow, she really thinks I'm awesome, and gladly let her new best friend wrap her around her little finger. Less than a year after Carlen had started as director, she'd even started copying Margie's look, dyeing her hair the same shade of bleach blonde, although she could never get the same volume that Margie had. And it wasn't just the staff who got chummy with her either. Plenty of parents did too, playing the exact same game that Margie was, inviting her over for dinner and drinks and going out with her on the weekends. And naturally, Carlen started giving them special treatment too. If their kids were too sick to come to daycare, she'd still let them in. Sure, we had a couple of COVID outbreaks, and one serious outbreak of hand, foot, and mouth, but hey, what's a little bending of the rules between friends, right? Who cares if a bunch of kids get really sick? Who cares if a 3-year-old ends up in the hospital? No big deal, right? Look, I'm not usually the type to fuss over the rules. I've bent them from time to time, too. I've made mistakes. Not perfect. But the goddamn director of the fucking center needs to have some goddamn standards. And Carlen's disappeared the moment people figured out she could be bought. And while her brain cells died off one by one, Margie just sat on her shoulder and cheered her on. I was just so fucking tired of it. I was so tired of them. And I already knew that team building exercise was just gonna wear me out even more. I mean, I knew it was gonna be bad. I just didn't know how bad. Margie had told us to meet her at the Hunter Guard Trail, a little ways north of Sudbury. It was about an hour drive from where we worked. An hour too far, if you asked me. Which nobody ever did. The Hunter Guard Trail was pretty well off the beaten path, too. It stretched from Sudbury to Tevham Sound. Although the part Margie had suggested we meet at was smack dab in the middle of the two, on a stretch of back road that looked like they'd used it for testing highway paint. You see roads like that up north sometimes, marked by stripes of white and yellow paint. And there wasn't much on that particular stretch of road, aside from a small dirt clearing and a sign where you could get on the trail. I could already see 4 other cars there by the time I got there, and spotted Carlen and Margie going through the trunk of her SUV, getting their bags set up. I was pretty sure I spotted them jamming coolers into Margie's backpack. I caught them both pretending not to stare at me as I parked and got out of my car, before Margie put on the biggest, fakest smile she possibly could, walked over to me, and in the most tortured, saccharine voice I'd ever heard, said, "Oh, Clara, I'm so glad you were able to make it." I just forced a smile, said something about how I was sure it was going to be a fun weekend, before sparing us both the agonizing small talk and going to get stuff from my car. I spotted some of the other girls from the daycare center closer to the start of the trail. There was Tanya, which didn't surprise me. She was probably the only one I could actually see being excited for this stupid trip, outside of Margie and Carlen. Beside her was Elena, who was perhaps the #1 contender for the single bitchiest human being I've ever met, and who looked almost hilariously overdressed for this little weekend trip. She had somehow discovered thigh-high hiking boots, and in defiance of all logic, had decided to wear them along with a long brown summer coat that complemented her boots both in terms of style and impracticality. She looked like she was expecting to walk down a runway, not a hiking trail. Lastly, there was the only person I was kind of surprised to see. Joan, one of the new hires. I suppose it sort of makes sense that she was there, since she was probably trying to make a good impression. But it was still odd to see her. Not bad, just odd. I actually kind of liked Joan. She had this gentle, soft-spoken air to her, and she was always great with the kids. It was easy to tell that she genuinely liked them. She gave me a friendly wave when she saw me, and I quietly returned it before going over to join her. Odds were, she was going to be the only person I'd be able to tolerate on this little trip. "They suckered you into this too, huh?" I asked quietly. She gave a sheepish little smile and an awkward laugh. Yeah, I thought it might be a good opportunity to connect with everyone, she said, in a tone that made it very clear to me that she didn't want to admit that she was already regretting this. Then, before she could say anything else, Elena butted in, on a mission to break the land speed record for pitching an MLM. So good to see you, she said, arms open wide for a hug. She did not get a hug. You guys excited for this weekend? I'm pumped. You girls need any extra supplies? I packed a lot of extras. I'm okay, Joan insisted, still smiling sheepishly. I'm used to camping. Yeah, all good here, I echoed, hoping she'd just go away. Good, I'm so glad to hear that. Oh, a little treat from me. She reached into one of the many pockets of her jacket, which may have been its only practical feature, and took out 2 little blue packets labeled Dough in a fancy white script. I got these from my side hustle. They're great in your water. It's so full of electrolytes, super yummy. I literally can't drink water without them anymore. She pushed the packets into our hands, and Joan stared down at it with a quiet confusion, as if she wasn't entirely sure what she was looking at. I just put on a fake smile and gently stuffed the packet into my pocket to forget about it. Thanks, I'll try it, I lied. Elena just stared at us expectantly for a moment. I think she was waiting for us to add it to our water bottles and tell her how great the MLM she bought into was, but neither of us did that. So she tried to awkwardly shift the subject. So, are you guys excited for the weekend? I vaguely remember replying to her, but I was already mentally checking out of the conversation. Instead, I found myself glancing over toward Margie and Carlen, who were still standing by Carlen's SUV, watching the road. They stayed like that for almost half an hour, while Joan and I tried to mingle with Elena and Tanya. I could see Margie getting more and more frustrated as time went by and no other cars arrived. Carlen ended up going back to her car to sit on the edge of the trunk. She opened up her bag, took out a cooler, and started drinking, while Margie wandered out closer to the road to start calling people. In total, our center had about 20 employees. I knew she wouldn't accept a turnout of just 4, on top of herself and Carlen. I didn't hear what she was saying on the phone. She was too far away, and Elena was giving her own personal TED talk to Tanya. But judging by her body language, she was pissed. After a while, she went back to Carlen, and the two talked for a bit before finally closing the tailgate of the SUV, putting on big, fake smiles and coming over to join us. Anyone else coming? I asked. I already knew the answer. I was admittedly just trying to piss Margie off. I saw a flash of rage in her eyes, but she buried it quickly. Looks like it's just us for the weekend, she said, trying so hard to sound chipper. Instead, it sounded strained. That's fine. We'll still have a blast. There's this campsite not too far from here. It'll be just perfect. We're gonna have so much fun. She did not sound convinced. Does everyone have what they need? We won't be back here until tomorrow afternoon, so double check if you have to. Oh, I've got everything we need, Elena insisted, quick-drawing dual packets of dough, like the world's shittiest gunslinger. Here, something for your water. Gotta keep those electrolytes up, and they're super yummy. Margie stared at the packet of blueberry-flavored water that was handed to her, and with a big, faux smile, stuffed it into her pocket, while maintaining unblinking eye contact with Elena. Thanks so much, she said. Carlen, who'd been lurking behind her, just quietly added the supplement to her water. If that's everything, I think it's time to head out, Margie finally said. And when no one argued, she took the lead as we headed down the trail. The hike was mostly uneventful. Margie stayed in front with Carlen. Elena and Tanya trailed behind them, while Joan and I kept a steady pace a short distance back. Elena was in the process of talking Tanya's ear off about her stupid MLM, and hadn't quite figured out that Tanya was only letting her because she found it hilarious. I mean, I don't invest in something unless I know it's good, Elena said. I've had so many successful businesses, flipping houses, talent scouting, photography, and I know what opportunity looks like. I mean, I support over 50 clients a month, and I'm helping 13 others build their own business. I can teach you too. I mean, just imagine it. Having the tools to completely turn your financial situation around and build legacy wealth, I can help you. So, if there's ever anything you need, I'm an open book. Tanya just nodded along, a knowing smirk on her lips. So, how come you still work at a daycare? She asked. Elena paused for a moment, as if she had no idea how to answer that question, before she finally spoke. Well, I have such a passion for fostering children into the best versions of themselves, she stammered. Yeah, I've noticed, Tanya goaded. You know, I can tell you're just such a fountain of knowledge for them, aren't you? Yes, absolutely, Elena insisted. She had no idea she was being mocked. It was kind of funny. Beside me, I noticed Joan had checked out of listening on their conversation and was starting to trail behind me a little bit. I slowed my pace down to let her catch up. You alright? I asked. Oh, yeah, it's just been a while since I hiked around here, she said. You've hiked in this area before? A few times. I grew up around here, actually. It's a fascinating patch of forest. A large chunk of it is actually a clonal colony. The trees here share a network of roots. In essence, they're really all part of the same tree. I raised an eyebrow. Wait, seriously? Yes, it's a fascinating phenomenon. This isn't even the largest of its kind. There's one in Utah. They call it Pando. It covers over 106 acres. This patch is only around 70 acres. Still impressive, but not quite on the same level. I could hear genuine excitement in her voice, and the way she looked at the forest indicated such real love for it. Oh, wow, I said. That's pretty cool. You're really into this, huh? My family always had a certain reverence for these things. Guess it rubbed off on me. Her sheepish smile was back, but turned a little more genuine when she saw I wasn't really judging her. It was a little over an hour later that we reached the bridge, if you could even call it a bridge. It was small and only crossed a shallow, rocky stream, although it looked like it had been made with care some time ago. The rock that built it was covered in moss and worn down by the elements, but still looked relatively sturdy. That said, I noticed a sign right beside the bridge that was small, yet hard to miss. No trespassing. We'll break off from the main trail here, Margie said as she moved to cross the bridge. Although she just barely set foot on it when Joan spoke up. But there's no campground over that bridge. Margie looked over at her, flashing her perfect white teeth in that all-too-familiar smile, barely masking her frustration. We're gonna rough it, she said. That's the fun part. We can cut some firewood, find a spot by the lake, and have ourselves an authentic camping experience. In the middle of those woods? Joan asked. Yeah, that's typically where you camp, Margie said. What's the problem? You didn't see the sign? We can't camp there. Well, that's where the lake is, Margie replied matter-of-factly. So, that's where we're going. You're just gonna ignore the sign? Joan asked. If it's there for a reason. Trust me, it's fine, Margie said. Carlen and I go out this way all the time, okay? It's fine. It isn't, though. You don't know what might happen if you cross. She's got a point, I said. It's probably private property or something. We can get in trouble. The rage returned to Margie's eyes. I'm sorry, are you 12? We could get in trouble. We're in the middle of the goddamn woods. It's just for one night, okay? If I say it's fine, it'll be fine. She looked over at Carlen for support, who obediently chimed in. Yeah, it's fine. We go all the time, she said. Just because it was fine last time doesn't mean it'll be fine this time, Joan warned. If you don't want to go, just turn back and go home, Margie finally snapped. How's that? Joan hesitated for a moment, struggling to find a response before Margie spoke again. If you don't want to be part of the team, then don't be part of the team, all right? Anyone else? She glared at the rest of us. Tanya grimaced but didn't speak up, and Elena was almost uncharacteristically quiet. Her eyes settled on me next. What about you, Clara? You want to leave too? Go on, take your shit and leave. And while you're at it, go find somewhere else to work too. Because if you're going to sit here and be negative, I'm done with it. Goodbye. I caught myself hesitating. I glanced over at Carlen, wondering if maybe she'd jump in and say something. Margie technically didn't have the authority to fire any of us, but Carlen did. Carlen didn't say a word. Joan shook her head. Do what you want, she said, turning to leave. She glanced at me, silently asking if I'd go with her. I seriously considered it, but I knew that if I did, I'd be posting job applications the moment I got home. This job was a pain in the ass, but I still needed it. I couldn't quit. Fine, Margie said. Get out of here then. She raised a hand as if to shoo her away, and Joan huffed in disgust before turning to leave. Margie gave us all one last glare before her forced smile returned. There. Good to go now? Anyone else want to cause a scene? No one said a word. And when Margie crossed the bridge, we followed. We walked for roughly another hour before reaching the shore of a nearby lake. It was around 3 p.m. by that point, and Margie seemed to have calmed down. See, isn't it perfect? She asked, and no one argued. We set up our tents while Carlen trudged off into the woods to gather firewood. I could see her a short distance away, clumsily hacking through small trees with a hatchet, while Margie got into her backpack and took out some coolers. Party favors, she chirped. Who wants some? Tanya jumped to her feet, letting out a playful whoop. I knew I wouldn't be the only one to bring the good shit, she said. Elena made a point to gravitate a little closer toward Margie, too, who was handing out White Claw like Halloween candy. Hey, Claire, you want mango, black cherry, or watermelon? She asked. I'm fine, actually, I said. Margie's brow furrowed. Come on, you just gonna act like a fucking stick in the mud the entire time? She asked, a hostile edge creeping into her voice. I opened my mouth to tell her I didn't feel like drinking, but a vision of the hypothetical argument that might ensue flashed through my mind like a warning from my future self, and I reconsidered. Mango, I guess, I finally said. Margie flashed me a fake grin and handed me a can. I opened it and took exactly one swig, before abandoning it for the rest of the night. When Carlen got back, she started a campfire, and from there, things just sort of devolved into drinking, gossiping, and not much else. Honestly, it was boring. I've never really been the type for gossip. Hell, I've never really been the type for camping either. And watching Margie, Carlen, Tanya, and Elena regress into high school girls wasn't my idea of a good time. It was like sitting with the cast of Mean Girls, complete with uniform blonde hair. I still tried to fake it, just to keep Margie off my back, but I wasn't sure if I was convincing or not. They kept drinking. They kept getting louder. Margie was just getting more and more insufferable as the night went on. I wanted to go home. It's so ridiculous. Like, the ministry is just fucking draconian, I heard Margie say. She was slurring her words at this point, somewhere between 8 or 9 drinks in. The cans littered the ground by her camping chair. Man, they don't give you any freedom. I mean, there's books on dinosaurs. I saw Dorothy reading one of the kids a book about astronauts landing on the moon. There's a fucking globe in most of the rooms. It's indoctrination. That makes me sick. We need to let them be free. We need to let them be free from the indoctrination. She sounded like she was about to cry. I just stared at her and wondered if this was the alcohol talking, or if she was just naturally that stupid. My gut told me that this was all natural. This wasn't exactly the first time that Margie had dropped hints that she was a flat earther. Tanya tried to stop herself from breaking out into giggles, but didn't dispute her while Margie lost the battle and started sobbing her eyes out over the tragedy of kids not being flat earthers. Carlen gently patted her on the back, before Margie pushed her off. "Don't touch me, you fucking bitch." Carlen hesitated before deciding not to reply, and just sitting there, completely useless. That was the point where I decided that maybe I should just call it a night, end my day, and move this boring shit show along. I woke up to the sound of someone screaming. Immediately, I stumbled out of my tent. I didn't know what I expected to find, but it wasn't Carlen's corpse. She was floating in the lake, a few feet away from us. I could only see the back of her head, but I knew it was Carlen by her clothes. She'd been wearing a light blue jacket on the trip up. She was wearing that same jacket now. Her fake blonde hair floated, splayed out around her head as Tanya waded into the water to drag her back. Elena was standing in the shallows, clearly losing her shit. It must have been her that I heard screaming. "Is she okay?" She kept asking. "Oh God, is she alright? Tanya, is she alright?" Tanya made it to her body and rolled Carlen over. She went still the moment she saw her face. She was gone. That much was very clear. But her eyes were still open and staring emptily ahead. Margie stood silent by the fire pit we made last night, staring out at Tanya and Carlen. She didn't speak. Her expression was impossible to read. "Oh God," Elena said under her breath. "Oh God, what do we do? Oh God, oh God." She fumbled through her pockets, looking for her cell phone to call for help. Although, as soon as she looked at the screen, she let out a dramatic sob. "There's no service," she said, looking over to Margie as if she could magically make bars appear on the phone. Margie didn't reply. She just continued to watch as Tanya dragged Carlen back to the shore. "Why the fuck was she even out there?" I heard her ask. "She's still fully clothed. Was she trying to swim? At night?" Elena snapped. "I don't know. People do dumb things when they're drunk," Tanya replied. Fuck. She rubbed her temples, looking down at Carlen's body once again. Her skin was pale. The sight of her made my stomach turn. I'd never seen a dead body before. I'd always been told that they looked like they were sleeping. Although Carlen did not look asleep. She looked dead. Like some fundamental part of her was gone. And all that was left was just a husk. "We need to get help," Elena said. She looked over at Margie again. "We need to get back to the cars. We need to get help." "We can't just leave her here," Tanya argued. "What if an animal comes and..." She couldn't finish that sentence. "Someone can stay behind," Elena said. "You can stay behind, can't you? We'll leave all the supplies here. Maybe Clara can stay with you?" Again, she looked over to Margie for some sort of input. She remained silent. "Margie?" Tanya asked. No response. "God damn it. You go with Clara. Margie can stay with me," Tanya said. Elena nodded hastily, before looking over at me. I'd barely had a chance to collect my thoughts yet. This all seemed so sudden. It didn't make sense. Why the hell had Carlen been out in the water? Maybe it was the booze, but That felt wrong somehow. Even if she was drunk, why would she have waded out into the lake fully clothed? This wasn't right. And as I looked at Margie again, I realized she knew that too. Her eyes shifted over to me, and I could see a deep suspicion in them. She didn't need to say what she was thinking. I knew. She was thinking that one of us was responsible, and she was trying to figure out who. Tanya and Elena didn't really have much of a motivation. Me? Well, I'd never really gotten along all that great with Carlen, but I wouldn't have called us enemies either. What did I really have to gain by killing her? No, Margie finally said. We can't split up. Why the hell not? Tanya asked. She's probably still out there. She? Tanya narrowed her eyes. What the hell are you talking about? Joan. Isn't it fucking obvious? She must have followed us. Must have waited until we were asleep and fucking offed Carlen. If we just wander off, we're next. Tanya stared at her, eyes partially narrowing. Are you still fucking drunk? She asked. How else do you explain it? Margie asked. Alcohol and bad decisions. Not to speak ill of the dead, but it wouldn't be a first for her. Tanya just shook her head and looked over at me and Elena. Can you two get help? Yeah, right away, Elena promised. We'll send someone as soon as we can, I promise. Tanya gave a nod as Elena looked over at me. I didn't reply. I just grabbed a few things I'd need for the hike and started back the way we came. We were only walking for half an hour when Elena spoke to me directly. This doesn't look like it did yesterday. That's because we're going the other way, I replied. Trust me, we're still on the trail. I've got a compass. We came northwest. Now we're going southeast. The bridge shouldn't be that much further. This trail is rockier than the one we were on yesterday, she said. I can barely walk on it. The next time, just pack some fucking hiking boots, I snapped. I didn't really have the energy to listen to her complain at that moment. Rude, she huffed. I need a moment. I need some water. Can we just get to the trail? I asked. In a minute. I sighed and kept moving. If Elena wanted to fuck around, she was welcome to. I wasn't going to waste time. Can you wait up? I heard her yell. Clara, can you just wait? I kept on walking. Clara, can you... Her words were cut off by a short, sharp scream. I turned back, half expecting to see Elena on the ground. Instead, I didn't see Elena at all. Then I heard her scream again. Only this time it was different. This time it wasn't startled. It was terrified. I froze, looking around for any sign of her. What the hell was going on? The forest wasn't that thick. I should have been able to see her. Elena? I called. I just heard another scream in response. Long, drawn out, halfway between a shriek and a sob. I could have sworn I heard her trying to beg. I kept calling out, frantically trying to find her. But Elena was gone. All that was left were her screams and sobs, echoing through the woods. And after a few minutes, even those stopped, leaving nothing but silence around me. My breathing was getting heavier as panic set in. I had to keep moving. Had to get back to the bridge. For a moment, Margie's paranoid warning about Joan flashed through my mind. But that couldn't be it. Joan wouldn't have done this. Margie was just freaking out and looking for someone to blame. But then, what the hell had happened to Elena? Where the hell had she gone? I wanted to call out to her again, but the words died in my throat. For some reason, I couldn't help but fear that calling out would have alerted whatever had taken her. And that fear kept me silent. So instead, I kept moving, starting to run down the rocky trail. Alana had been right. It hadn't been this rocky before. The trek up to the lake had been relatively smooth. This path was rough and sloped downhill. Maybe I was turned around. But how? There'd only been one path. Then suddenly I froze as I saw something up ahead. Tents. Our tents. No. No way. Was I back at the fucking campsite? I stumbled forward, half hoping this wasn't true. I couldn't be back. Alana and I had been going downhill most of the time. There was no way we'd gone in a circle. But as I walked through the trees, I was greeted by the sight of our campground. I could see Carlene's body laying by the bank, although it almost looked as if the weeds had started to overtake it. What the hell was this? Clara? Margie's voice tore me away from Carlene's body, and I turned to see her coming out of the tent, clutching the hatchet Carlen had used to chop wood with a white-knuckled grip. Margie? Where's Tanya? Gone, was all I could say. I just looked away and she was gone. Alana? I opened my mouth to reply, but couldn't. I think Margie still saw it in my eyes. She stared at me for a moment, as if she was trying to process what was happening. Did you kill her? She finally asked. What? No! No, why the fuck would I kill her? You were with Joan. You were talking to her. Was this your plan? Take us into the woods and murder us? No! Jesus, no! Liar. Margie looked like she was on the verge of tears. She held the hatchet in front of her protectively as she backed away. You're not gonna get me, she said. You're not gonna get me too. Margie, please, just relax. We can figure this out. But Margie just continued to ramble. I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to... Something grabbed her leg, yanking her off her feet. She dropped the hatchet as she fell, and tried to thrash, tried to escape, but she couldn't get free. Then, with a panicked scream, she was dragged back into the woods. I grabbed the hatchet off the ground and bolted after her. She was a bitch, but I couldn't just let her die. No. Her voice echoed through the forest as I watched her drag through the dirt towards the base of one of the trees. She tried to claw her way toward me, but whatever was pulling her into that tree didn't let go. And as I closed the distance, I finally saw what had grabbed her. It was a root. A wooden root, snared around her ankle like a snake. And it was starting to drag her into the ground. Clara, she sobbed, desperately trying to reach out to me. I tried to swing the hatchet at the root that was dragging her under, but missed and buried it in the dirt. New roots grew up from the earth, snaring around the hatchet and keeping me from pulling it back up. I could feel them snaking their way around my legs, too, and panicked. I tried to pull back, only to fall over. No, Margie sobbed. No. I could see her being pulled under the ground, and I knew I'd be joining her soon. The earth was swallowing me up. I was gonna die here. I closed my eyes, trying to brace myself for the end, trying not to cry. Margie was gone now. I couldn't even hear her screams. If she wasn't already dead, odds are she would be soon. Now it was my turn. Then, it stopped. I was only halfway into the grounds when I felt the roots let go. In a panic, I tried to drag myself out, pulling myself out of the dirt and collapsing onto the ground, hyperventilating. I scrambled back away from the tree, only to bump into a A pair of legs? I screamed as I felt a hand on my shoulder. Then I heard a familiar voice. Joan's. It's all right. It won't take you. It's all right. I looked up at her, ready to start crying. I wasn't sure if I should be relieved to see her or still terrified. It's all right, she said. What the hell was that? I demanded. What the hell just happened? Where's Margie? Where's Tanya? Alana? What the fuck is this? They disrespected the forest, Joan said coolly. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? I demanded. She offered a hand to help me up. I reluctantly took it and let her help me up. Like I said before, this forest is one organism, and it does not like to be disturbed. Seems the others have trespassed here one too many times. They have disrespected the forest. And so, it's taken them. Her words didn't make much sense to me. But then again, none of what I'd seen made much sense either. Seems the forest has taken its pound of flesh. Literally. You're fortunate you were the last. I may not have been able to calm its rage otherwise. But you still shouldn't stay here. It's not too late for it to change its mind. Come on. I just gave a shaky half nod. Joan turned away from the trees and gestured for me to follow. Together, we walked back to the path in silence. When we made it to the bridge, I crossed it alone. I looked back at Joan to see if she'd follow, but she didn't. I need to stay here, she said. I need to clean up the mess they left. The forest may continue to rage otherwise. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. But it would be best if you did not return here again. Again, all I could do was nod. I watched as Joan disappeared back into the trees. Then I finally turned and walked back to my car. As soon as I got into the driver's seat, I broke down crying. I haven't set foot in the woods since that incident. Not just the woods around that trail. Any woods. I don't really even go outside anymore. I keep thinking that if I do, the roots will tear themselves out of the earth and drag me under. Some days, I wonder if maybe they should. Margie, Carlen, Tanya, and Elena weren't exactly the best people. But I don't know if they deserve to die like that. I don't know if I deserve to be alive. Well, they aren't. I just don't know. Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/JordanGroupeHorror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward. And if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you, which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.